BW. It's about 10 o'clock p.m. here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, April 13th, 2020. So I did I tried to do two live streams today, about the recent Passover ritual, which was done, the peak of it Monday night, and it's still going on. It'd be those tornadoes hitting down. They're still ravaging the East Coast right now. Um, so I wanted to kind of finish it out by going through some very, very important information. Maybe the information that I'm going to go through right now is probably the most important out of all. So it's going to be a part three. I hope some people watch it, but I really need to kind of finish out with the information. My attackers knocked me off of both live streams, just froze everything, so that and then froze me out of the live stream. I'm not sure if it's because of the information or because I'm pretty adamant about getting information out now because of what's happening in the world. I feel like this is very, very important. It's important for people to understand because of the pandemic and everything that's going down, all the chaos and fear that's being created. And at the same time, they're using asymmetrical weather warfare, at a specific time, at Passover night, which destroyed more than 100 homes. And check this article out from NBC News. At least 33 dead as dozens of tornadoes ripped through the South. The storm system's left over 1 million people without power Monday morning as it travels up the Atlantic coast. So let's read a little bit of it by Ben Kesslin. At least 33. So look for that number, right? They show their numbers in a lot of these news articles, mainstream news on television. They'll have these numbers that are kind of like a wink to each other. At least 33 people were killed after, tornadoes began ripping through the South on Easter Sunday, destroying homes and storefronts and leaving over 1 million people without power from an intense storm system now headed toward the mid-Atlantic. Tornadoes and other severe weather hit central Texas early Sunday, bringing gigantic hail and damage, and then traveled east through Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. In Mississippi, the state's emergency management agency said 11 people died. 11 people died there. 11 is another symbolic number. In at least 3 counties near the Louisiana border, Walthall, Lawrence, and Jefferson Davis. 7 more lost their lives in Murray County, Georgia. Fire Chief Dwayne Bain told NBC News on Monday morning. The rural county an hour outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, was hit hard. Several people were found dead in a trailer park. Another person died in Bartow County, North Atlanta. Okay, now I want to show you guys something else. So that's just to refresh. This is a part 3, but it's just to refresh all these tornadoes hitting down. There's like 40 or something reported. And now the huge weather system moving up the East Coast as we speak. So, but really Monday night, Passover night, Easter Sunday was the peak and the most damage done, right? So bringing it to weather warfare, this asymmetrical warfare that's very, very important for us to understand. It's been used for a while. And targeted individuals have a key here, right? We're being hit with radar, remote electromagnetic, remote directed energy weapons, remote neural manipulation, actually affecting our mind, manipulating our mind, hitting us with external hits. They also use electromagnetic frequencies, extremely low frequencies in microwave and other electromagnetic frequencies, on the electromagnetic spectrum to actually create hurricanes and tornadoes, and then to actually steer them too. And I'll get to some techniques and stuff about how they steer them. Let me make my window a little bit smaller here so we can read some of this. I read some of it in part 2. let me just read it again. Let me just read this part. Okay, so let's go right here. Environmental modification techniques have been applied by the U.S. military for more than a half century. U.S. mathematician John von Neumann, in liaison with the U.S. Department of Defense, started his research on weather modification in the late 1940s at the height of the Cold War and foresaw forms of climatic warfare as yet unimagined. During the Vietnam War, cloud seeding techniques were used, starting in 1967 under Project Popeye, the objective of which was to prolong the monsoon season and block enemy supply routes along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The U.S. military has developed advanced capabilities that enable it selectively to alter weather patterns. The technology, which is being perfected under the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HARP, is an appendage of the Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars. From a military standpoint, HARP is a weapon of mass destruction operating from the outer atmosphere and capable of destabilizing agricultural and ecological systems around the world and destroying a bunch of houses in the south and the southeast and killing a bunch of people over Passover. And they've done this before. They've done this many, many times before, with hurricanes, and also, I mean, the fires in California and the fires in Australia from satellite directed energy weapons. And these are just important concepts. The sad thing about these real important information for us to understand to stay safe as the public. Well, not to stay safe, because none of us are safe, but to begin to fight back about this stuff is to understand reality. And I feel like as long as I'm reading this and there may be some non-targeted individuals or just some people who stop by and they're like, you're nuts, and that's dangerous. That means we have no chance if too much of a percentage of the population just denies reality, and then these evil people up at the top can just keep raping us and blowing up houses and creating fires and getting us off the land that they think is theirs, and they don't think we have a right to exist, right? So knowledge is the first step in defense. And being a targeted individual, the first step in me protecting myself at all and helping other people was knowing what was happening. So just a microcosm, macrocosm thing, right? So weather modification, according to the U.S. Air Force document AF 2025 final report, offers the warfighter a wide range of possible options to defeat or coerce an adversary. Adversary's capabilities, it says, extending to the triggering of floods, hurricanes, droughts, and earthquakes. Excuse me. I got a little glass of wine for tonight. It's Josh wine. Not trying to promote it, do an advertisement, but it's pretty good. I was really frustrated about just my live streams being locked down, and I guess it's very important. It is very important information. When I'm putting it out, I'm just like, nobody, I know targeted individuals will understand, and a lot of other people putting the truth out, but to people like my parents, say my dad, he'd be like, that's conspiracy theory and that's insane, because that's what the news would say. But these are important concepts. It's a new time, right? We're in a lot more danger now, and just people have to just accept what's going on if we're going to even have a chance. So first step, putting the information out there. A lot of people are doing a lot more stuff. Revolution X is on the rise, and so a lot more stuff's going to be going on. But while I'm kind of locked in my place, getting information out there, and everybody just needs to do something. Just do something. Whatever you think will be useful. Get with God and ask Him what He thinks would be useful for you to do during this time. Y'all know my spiel. So, did I read this part? Weather modification will become a part of domestic and international security and could be done unilaterally. It could have offensive and defensive applications and even be used for deterrence purposes. The ability to generate precipitation, fog, and storms on Earth, or to modify space weather, and the production of artificial weather all are part of an integrated set of military technologies. It's all part of a bunch of asymmetrical protocols for war. As you remember in part two, I said we are in World War III and the public is the enemy. So all these military industrial complexes in every country, and then the leaders above them, not just the government, but like global leaders, the CFR, and then above them, the very rich families, they are in a war now to kill off a lot of the public and then control the rest. So it is World War III that we are in. It's just hidden. It's just, we're just going to kill y'all off, and it's going to look like natural weather, and it's going to look like all these people just have mental illness and stuff like that, and it's going to look like a natural virus, but in actuality, it's asymmetrical warfare that you really don't know how to fight back, right? You don't know how to fight back against something that we're telling you is a natural pandemic, right? And we're using it for all these political tools and geopolitical things and economic things to really fight the public, destroy the middle class, take some people off of the earth. And I'm not trying to be, what's the word? I'm not trying to be glib, but you know, it's just really frustrating. And so I'll just get this information out. I'm really not trying to be glib, but it's like it's just a lot of people are trying to get information out. And even though I just have a small YouTube channel, and I've got a team of people trying to shut down my YouTube channel, and it's like the most important information that we need as a worldwide public to defend ourselves, and it's like treated as a joke, you know. So I think I've got to make some jokes sometimes. Okay, so in 1977, an international convention was ratified by the UN General Assembly, which banned military or other hostile use of environmental modification techniques having widespread, long-lasting, or severe effects. It defined environmental modification techniques as any technique for changing, through the deliberate manipulation of natural processes, the dynamics, composition, or structure of the Earth, including its biota, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere, or of outer space. While the substance of the 1977 convention was reasserted in the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, signed at the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio, debate on weather modification for military use has become scientific taboo. Can't talk about it because the military industrial complexes and those agencies want to keep it a secret so they can control people with it and move them off their land. And if they have houses there, they want to rip through their houses with tornadoes, and then oops, the insurance, something's wrong with it, y'all are going to have to move to another area, say a smart city or something like that, right? Agenda 21. So the HARP program is actually closed down, but let's read about like how it worked. And there are many facilities and installations like HARP all around the globe. And there's some different ones that aren't using like the same kind of phased array antennas, but are using like radar, or there's directed energy straight from satellites, and they're just putting up thousands of satellites every year. Established in 1992, HARP, based in Gokana, Alaska, is an array of high-powered antennas that transmit through high-frequency radio waves massive amounts of energy into the ionosphere, the upper layer of the atmosphere. Their construction was funded by the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA. Operated jointly by the Air Force Research Laboratory and the Office of Naval Research, HARP constitutes a system of powerful antennas capable of creating controlled local modifications of the ionosphere, according to its official website. So HARP will be used to induce a small localized change in the ionospheric temperature so physical reactions can be studied by other instruments located either at or close to the HAARP site. So that the way that HAARP would do would actually be able to like create a hurricane or create a tornado by creating changes in the ionosphere, and then they're seeding the ionosphere with chemtrails, with lots of nanotechnology that can react a certain way with certain frequencies that they're pumping into it to create weather out in the ocean. But then you've got actually steering the hurricanes or the tornadoes. So let's go to some of that information. We may come back here, but mostly I just wanted to, go through some of this information and then put the put the documents in the description so you guys can maybe come back and read it all. So I know it kind of gets boring if I'm just sitting there and I read the whole thing. Let's read this, because according to a report by the Russian State Duma, the U.S. plans to carry out large-scale experiments under the HAARP program, create weapons capable of breaking radio communication lines and equipment installed on spaceships and rockets, provoke serious accidents in electricity networks and in oil and gas pipelines, and have a negative impact on the mental health of entire regions. Radar and phased array antennas and the infrastructure that they have in America and across the globe, and the satellites being the brain, it's had a detrimental effect on my mental health. Being remote neural manipulated, specific protocols to like break down my personality and my mind. And I know for you other targeted individuals watching this, let's see if there's anything. Can y'all tell I'm like super frustrated? Super frustrated. Because all this should have just been like, I was going to do a live stream where I just kind of went through all of it. And I find it that if you make a part 3 of something, like people don't really go to the part 3, So I'm kind of wondering if my attackers knew what I had, because I'll show you guys where they stopped me. They could still freeze this up. Okay, I was about to go, wasn't here. Let's go here first. Well, this is the one that I was about to go to when my attackers cut my live stream off, and it's really important information. It's on the electromagnetic basis of tornadoes. They can read electromagnetic waves from tornadoes, from hurricanes, right? So, and if we take the little microcosm, or a different example, like my attackers can remote neural monitor me. They can pick up signals from my brain with how they're doing that. So if they can pick up signals from something, that means they can manipulate it too. If they can read signals from something with electromagnetic frequencies, usually whatever it is going to have an electromagnetic nature to it, and then they can manipulate those frequencies back. But I want to go to this first, guys, because it kind of sets this up. Oh, I got so much stuff open here. Here it is. Okay. You see how fast it is. Like when I'm not on live stream, because I'm on Zoom, and then my attackers are like freezing up Zoom, and so like they'll just freeze up one screen just to like frustrate me, and so it's like really slow. I wonder if they're gonna stop doing that. Probably not. Hold on one second. So this is from Science Daily. Decoding tornadoes' infrasound waves. Listening to tornado infrasound could revolutionize how meteorologists forecast tornadoes. Okay. It's from the Acoustical Society of America. Summary: tornado producing storms can emit infrasound, and that's an electromagnetic frequency, more than an hour before tornado genesis, which inspired a group of researchers to develop a long-range, passive way of listening in on storms. Infrasound waves oscillate at frequencies humans can't hear, but they're extremely useful for monitoring nuclear blasts because infrasound decays so slowly within our atmosphere that it can wrap around Earth multiple times. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, researchers discovered that tornadoes and other geophysical events also produce sound within the near infrasound range of 0.5 to 20 hertz. So tornado producing storms can emit infrasound more than an hour. Did I already read that? During the 175th meeting of the Acoustical Society of America, being held May 7th through 11th, 2018 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Brian Elbing, assistant professor of mechanical and aerospace engineering at Oklahoma State University, will present his group's work. Elbing and his team have been collecting infrasound measurements from tornadoes to decode information contained in waves about the formation processes and life cycle before potentially devastating storms hit. By monitoring tornadoes from hundreds of miles away, we'll be able to decrease false alarm rates and possibly even increase warning times, Elbing said. It also means storm chasers won't need to get that close. So I just wanted to show you guys that even out in the public science field, they can read electromagnetic frequencies of tornadoes and hurricanes, right? So it begs the question, if they're that advanced out in the public science arena, then what does the military-industrial complex, what do some of these agencies like DARPA have to actually create weather systems and then steer them? So I want to show you all this on the electromagnetic basis of tornadoes. Tornadoes are, and this is from the College Times, these are all public I guess online magazines, so a lot of this knowledge about reading the electromagnetic frequencies of tornadoes and actually knowing how to steer them in certain ways is already out in just normal public science, in the normal public science arena. Tornadoes are a devastating natural phenomenon currently beyond our ability to predict or control. However, science marches on. Diligent scientists have tried for many years to connect the dots between the electrical properties of supercell thunderstorms and tornado genesis. New measurements of electromagnetic waves could indicate they were on the right track. The history of electrical theories for tornado genesis goes back quite a ways. There have been many anecdotal reports of luminous phenomena, most likely in electrical nature, associated with tornado formation. In one instance, a fisherman was greeted by a surprise funnel cloud and claims to have witnessed the inside of the tornado. There was an apparently violent outer vortex and a more orderly inner vortex inside which many bolts of lightning were seen. The double vortex seems quite reminiscent of the description of an electrically motivated charged sheath vortex surrounded by a more chaotic turbulence or shear vortex as proposed by Peter Thompson from the UK. And let's go down here. In essence, it was found that without a vortex, a spark discharge could be initiated if the electrodes were too far apart. Moving the electrodes closer together would reduce the spark gap and increase the electric field potential between the electrodes, allowing a spark to form. However, when a vortex was created with a fan, a lower intensity discharge, a glow discharge, was able to form between the electrodes over long distances. The implication is that the rotation due to wind shear may create an environment conducive to a glow discharge, tentatively a tornado. All right, let's read that again. The implication is that rotation due to wind shear may create an environment conducive to a glow discharge, tentatively a tornado, where a spark discharge, lightning, is not possible due to insufficient electric field potential between the cloud and the earth. This would appear to be not out of line with the reports of electrical glows within the funnels of tornadoes in the few instances where the innards have been accidentally observed. It is possible that the electrical forces involved may also give the tornado some portion of its destructive power on the ground. Where charges are out of balance, the electrical force dominates over the force of gravity. Have you ever wondered why that little piece of plastic wrap clings to your hand? static electric cling despite violently shaking it and despite the entire gravitational potential of the Earth resting below your feet pulling downward it. Yeah, that's how much stronger the raw electric force is with respect to gravity. The notion of electrical forces playing a significant role in tornadoes is not especially new, just not well known. In fact, several notables have contributed anecdotally to the theory. Their collective works may be greater on the whole than any one single contribution. So let's go to Okay, the theory of electrically heating air has been largely discarded as a formative mechanism, accelerating charged particles in the air and thus the air itself through collisions of those particles with neutral particles in the air has not been as widely studied. However, a few notable papers have been penned on the subject. So let's go down here to this comment at the bottom, because I know that gets pretty boring, me just reading a bunch of scientific stuff. But basically, it's talking about how like electromagnetic forces can actually steer or create um, steer or create um, steer or create a tornado. My attackers are just wiping my mind. Okay, check this out. Okay, aircraft engineer A&P mechanic. Electromagnetic eddy currents which intermesh, synchronize into equilibrium, will induce any given fluid, gas or liquid, to form into a vortex. Then pressure differential, mass airflow, and angular momentum of a given fluid within this electromagnetic eddy current equilibrium polarity flux ground will take on the formation of a powerful vortex, i.e. a tornado, with an average angular velocity of 400 miles per hour and a linear land speed of 35 miles per hour. So, electromagnetic eddy currents which intermesh, synchronize into equilibrium, will induce any given fluid, gas or liquid, to form into a vortex. So, right, you got a weather system, you got a bunch of clouds and stuff like that. With the right electromagnetic frequencies and energy at the right place in the right time and the right forces, right, it can create a vortex, right, like out in the ocean, and then can direct it with those electromagnetic frequencies. Then pressure differential, mass airflow, and angular momentum of a given fluid with this electromagnetic eddy current, right, an eddy current steers it this way or that way, can be created with electromagnetic frequencies if they're strong enough, right? Which you see the fires in California, you see the fires in Australia. They can definitely have enough electromagnetic amperage behind the electromagnetic frequency to create a vortex and create a strong enough eddy current, and then they have the technology to actually direct it. So the internal compression of a tornado will harness heat of air compression just like turbine propulsion engines and reach internal temperatures of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The exterior of this developed tornado will compensate with intense pressure and temperature drop. The exterior of a tornado will drop down to temperatures nearing minus 60 below zero. The extreme pressure and temperature differential within a tornado with a tons of mass air weight force, he uses like these four words that okay, wait, let me read that again. Differential within a tornado with the tons of mass air weight force via the atmosphere basically becomes the driving horsepower behind a tornado with limited electrodynamic eddy current as a catalyst. Let me read that again because I want to understand. So the extreme pressure and temperature differential within a tornado with the tons of mass air weight force via the atmosphere basically becomes the driving horsepower behind the tornado with limited electrodynamic eddy current as a catalyst. Why is this so hard to understand? This is the same principle behind magnetohydrodynamics, in which water propulsion engines develop excellent thrust without any moving parts, just an electromagnetic stator field. I'm not sure if he's using that right, but just an electromagnetic field with which induced the water fluid to rotate and straighten back out for water mass acceleration into thrust force. If you take a glass of water and mix the water with salt and baking soda, then add electrical current at 180-degree poles on the cup sides, the water, if in the northern hemisphere, will rotate clockwise. If the southern hemisphere, it will rotate counterclockwise. The same thing will happen with any other fluid, liquid, or gas. If airflow is applied in this experiment with a stator field containing more lines of flux, which is an electromagnetic field containing more lines of flux, higher voltage and current, the same effect will happen to the air flowing through this field as of water. Then magneto-aerodynamic propulsion is achieved. So that basically means electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic frequencies can create a hurricane or a tornado. Then if they have it right, if they create the right electromagnetic field, it can put force behind the hurricane or tornado to actually move it along and steer it, because they can create an eddy current, right? An eddy current will go a certain way, and the tornado or the hurricane will go along the eddy current. So this is all fancy words and seems to be complicated. Yeah. Can't disagree with that. But it's all just basic electromagnetics and electrodynamics in practical applications. Mother Nature has her equilibriums leading to tornadoes, but it is complete nonsense to think that scientists do not know how tornadoes operate. With quantum computing and HAARP, tornadoes can be induced at will with satellite interface retraining the magnetic harmonics of the Earth at a given geographical point. As could any other weather can be induced with this weather warfare or control technologies, provided quantum computing is phased into the equation. And we know that they have quantum computers and D-Wave computers. It's what they're attacking a lot of targeted individuals with. It's the AI, it's what the AI is run on. Even though, I may have a hive mind team that, is using AI, it's hooked up to a larger quantum computer or D-Wave computer, and that's how the AI runs, to attack me or any of you guys that are targeted. My head hurts after reading that. But basically the bottom line is that with electromagnetic frequencies, and it's complicated to explain, complicated even for me to understand in detail, but the bottom line is they have satellites and an infrastructure, a frequency weapons grid, and then it's not only to just attack people and do remote neural monitoring or remote neural manipulation. They can do things at electromagnetic fields at a certain amperage, or directed energy in the right spot in the ionosphere. They do chemtrails, right? Which I didn't even think about that. Like, I just thought about it recently. Maybe I thought about it before, but chemtrails, an angle of chemtrails is actually to manipulate weather and create hurricanes and tornadoes, because they put nano particulates in chemtrails, and then it's easier to manipulate that area with electromagnetic frequencies. So that's the bottom line of all this. This is all fancy, yeah, but it's all just basic electromagnetics and electrodynamics in practical applications. So Mother Nature has her equilibriums leading to a tornado. Okay, I already read that. Also, the Earth's magnetic field is the best source of harnessing free, virtually unlimited wireless AC current to all homes, aircraft, land, and water vehicles, commercial operations, and any other electromotive application. An electrical generator is just a miniature replica of a rotating Earth. The Earth is an electromagnetic field alternator with its stator, or electric field, I guess that's a type of electric field, right? Being the atmosphere, its rotor being the Earth, and diode being the lines of flux which ground to the core of the Earth, keeping it molten and thus extremely magnetic. All electricity which can be harnessed on Earth is constant and cannot be created or destroyed. So before people think about non-efficient energy sources disguised as alternative, such as solar, wind power, and anything else which costs just as much crude oil to maintain and produce, Think unlimited AC current harnessed from the Earth's magnetic field to all electromotive applications on Earth. Ground it back to the Earth's core without disrupting the return feed loop energy constant of the Earth. That guy is very smart. So we should have free energy by now. Like that's a given. So this was aircraft engineer, A&P mechanic. Very smart guy. So let's go back to let's no, let's not go to that. I'm not going to go to that new article. I kind of just wanted to get that point across, kind of the bottom line is that you can use electromagnetic frequencies, and they've been doing it for a long time to create hurricanes and tornadoes and then to direct them. And then you think about the timing. Think about the timing of when those tornadoes hit down on Monday, on Easter Day. Tornadoes hit down in Texas, I think. I'm not quite sure about that. But then the peak of it, the peak destruction, was Passover night. So I mean, the timing on that is ridiculously. It seems ridiculously planned and controlled. An analysis of statements emanating from the U.S. Air Force points to the unthinkable: the covert manipulation of weather patterns, communications, and electric power systems as a weapon of global warfare, enabling the U.S. to disrupt and dominate entire regions. Weather manipulation is the preemptive weapon par excellence. It can be directed against enemy countries or friendly nations without their knowledge. Who's the enemy now? Us. We're the enemy. And everybody's just like, some tornadoes hit Easter Day and Easter night and destroyed all of our homes, killed 33 people. And it's weather, though. And it's weather. Just got to deal with it. During another emergency, another pandemic on top of it, right? So you see World War III and you see who's the enemy. We're the enemy. Very, very sad. And check this out. Okay, so it can be directed against enemy countries of friendly nations without their knowledge, used to destabilize economies, ecosystems, and agriculture. It can also trigger havoc in financial and commodity markets. The disruption in agriculture creates a greater dependency on food aid and imported grain staples from the U.S. and other Western countries. HARP was developed as part of an Anglo-American partnership between Raytheon Corporation, and Raytheon makes a lot of the integrated directed energy weapon systems and integrated neuroweapon systems that are actually attacking us as targeted individuals, people who are experimented on by the frequency weapons grid. Raytheon is a big manufacturer. They may even do some of the contract experimentation, but I think they're mostly manufacturing, right? Which owns the HARP. Okay, HARP was developed as part of an Anglo-American partnership between Raytheon Corporation, which owns the HARP patents, the U.S. Air Force, and British Aerospace System, BAES. The HARP project is one among several collaborative ventures in advanced weapon systems between the two defense giants. The HARP project was initiated in 1992 by Advanced Power Technologies Incorporated, APTI, a subsidiary of Atlantic Richfield Corporation, ARCO. APTI, including the HARP patents, was sold by ARCO to E-Systems Incorporated in 1994. E-Systems, on contract with the CIA and U.S. Department of Defense, outfitted the Doomsday Plan, which allows the president to manage a nuclear war, subsequently acquired by Raytheon Corporation. It is among the largest intelligence contractors in the world. BAES was involved in the development of the advanced stage of the HARP antenna array under a 2004 contract with the Office of Naval Research. So the installation of 132 high-frequency transmitters was entrusted by BAES to its U.S. subsidiary, BAE Systems Incorporated. The project, according to a July report in Defense News, was undertaken by BAE's Electronic Warfare Division. In September, it received DARPA's top award for technical achievements for the design, construction, and activation of the HARP array of antennas. Now they have so many of these. So like HARP was shut down because it was getting so much public attention. This is just what I think. I think that HARP was probably shut down because it was getting so much public attention, right? And they just want to say, hey, that's not even active anymore. But there's so many more installations all over the globe, and especially America. This I think it was written before they actually shut it down because it was getting so much attention, and they're just like, no, it's not active anymore. So kind of like Area 51 now is just a place for like regular airplanes, and the real site is somewhere else. The HARP system is fully operational and in many regards dwarfs existing conventional and strategic weapon systems. While there is no film evidence of its use for military purposes, Air Force documents suggest HARP is an integral part of the militarization of space. Yes. One would expect the antennas already to have been subjected to routine testing. Under the UNFCCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has a mandate to assess scientific, technical, and socioeconomic information relevant for the understanding of climate change. This mandate includes environmental warfare. Geoengineering is acknowledged, but the underlying military applications are neither the object of policy, analysis, or scientific research. In the thousands of pages of IPCC reports and supporting documents based on the expertise and input of some 2,500 scientists, policymakers, and environmentalists. Climatic warfare potentially threatens the future of humanity. It's really being used on us a lot now. I mean, during a pandemic, during somewhere where they're locking everybody down, and then think about that. Easter Day, they were steering tornadoes to destroy a bunch of houses. We are under attack, like seriously. And the sad thing is that I think a lot of people would watch my little video here, and I know not you guys that subscribe to me, you know this stuff is real, but people like my dad and people like it just that don't know much about what's happening. They're like, well, manipulate the weather, chemtrails don't exist, and it's being used to kill a lot of people and to displace them from their homes, take away everything. And then it's like, it's not even like safely displacing them from their homes. A lot of people died. Apparently 33. Probably more than that. But they had to get that little number 33 to be like a signal. To be like a signal to the other people who practice Mystery Babylon. Threatens the future of humanity, but has casually been excluded from the reports for which the IPCC received the 2007 Nobel Peace Prize. They have to exclude it, just like they have to exclude anything about targeting or remote neural manipulation, and it's talked about in a different generalized way, because the military-industrial complexes and all the way up to the capstone of the pyramid, they want to keep those technologies hidden for as long as possible so they can do this with it, so they can have a little Passover ritual and kill 33 people and then more, because it's all along the East Coast now, and everybody will just say, what will the public say? Well, that's just Mother Nature. Like I saw one of the videos with the guys, and he's like, God doesn't make mistakes. He sure doesn't, right? And this is our new God, right? Not any of us, but they want to be gods, the people doing this stuff. It was just, I heard like one of the videos, he was like, God doesn't make any mistakes. And it was just it sent like bad chills up my spine, like ice cold chills up my spine. So I thought about how these people at the top of the pyramid think they're gods and don't believe in the real God. Okay, alright guys, I think that's everything I want to show y'all. I kind of want to show this Dune clip. I wonder if it'll get no, I might not show it. It's where they have the fields, they have these fields, and to get through the fields they have to move the knife really, really slowly so the field doesn't detect it. And I wanted to just give it as an example of how the New World Order and our own governments and the agencies like under the Pentagon and whatever your Pentagon is in your country, how they do things. Boil the frog in water. They have to move the knife really slowly so the whole public doesn't jump up and rebel, right? And I think this time they moved the knife a little bit too quickly, and everybody's shields are up. You know, hopefully some good stuff will happen when Revolution X gets in full sway. Yeah, check out this channel too. I was watching her video, Yvonne Chamba. I'll put her channel link in the description for this. I just wanted to show her channel. I'll play one of her videos on another video, but she has some very inspirational videos about her targeting. So I wanted to start doing that more, making sure that I'm promoting people's channels. I guess I don't want to go through. I'll put this article in the description too. Right here. Geostorm hurricane conspiracy theory claims the U.S. government controls the weather. The government doesn't control the weather. It's the Pentagon and DARPA. They're not really the government. Technically. What caused a devastating back-to-back string of hurricanes and natural disasters across the United States? If you ask conspiracy theorists, conspiracy factists, on the internet, some will point you to a former U.S. military ionospheric research facility in Alaska. The problem with such a far-fetched theory is that the Fairbanks Research Facility is now operated by the University of Alaska, and it cannot physically accomplish what conspiracy theorists accuse. It's like Area 51. They move everything once the public starts to know about it. They have so many facilities, so many phased array antennas, so many radars, so many satellites up, so many classified areas where the military does all this remote stuff. They don't need HARP anymore. HARP was like the initial, one of the initial research facilities where they were just learning how to do it, and now it's proliferated, you know, all over the United States, and then other countries have proliferated phased array antennas, radar, and all these different things that are basically driven by satellite driven, right? They even have drones and things like that can beam down directed energy. Of course, that does not keep individuals from claiming the high-frequency active Aurora research program manipulates the environment, changes weather. It's such misdirection. I'll put this article in the description, but that is real. That was done on 10/24/17 by Lindley Sanders. Strawman. The HARP facility is like just a misdirection. I didn't even read this, and it's like, oh, HARP doesn't exist anymore. To be frank, okay, wait, Sue Mitchell, the facility's public information officer, received 46 missed calls after a weekend of particularly bad weather. To be frank, HARP cannot do the things the conspiracy theorists accuse it of being able to do. Mitchell tells Newsweek, it's not capable of causing hurricanes or reading minds or making caribou walk backward or any of the millions of things it's been accused of. It's a completely harmless research facility. So because HARP is now owned by the University of Alaska, it's like people are like, see, there's no weather manipulation, and there's nothing like mind control or remote neural manipulation, directed energy weapon torture, because it would all come from HARP. No, HARP was like old school. It was a facility where they were learning stuff, even when they had other places, and now it's proliferated into all these other areas that contractors have with radar and satellites to radar, satellite to phased array antenna, all the 5G infrastructure that they can also use, and 4G infrastructure with 4G towers have phased array antennas and things that cell phones use, but then there's always stuff above them. There's always stuff above on 4G towers, like there's one row of stuff that's used by cell phones and consumer internet and things like that, and then there's like a layer above it that is not used by the consumer, you know. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's it for tonight. I just kind of wanted to show those things. I'm trying to think if there's anything I forgot. I got a bunch of information because I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do about live streams. I don't know what I'm going to do about live streams because my attackers just, are freezing them up and stopping them. So I guess I'll upload another version of Zoom. I'll upload another version of Zoom and see if that maybe works for next time. We'll just see. I know a lot of people were just like, "Where'd you go, Kyle?" And that happened twice today. Not sure what's making them, because usually they'll freeze up my stuff or make my computer go slow, but now they're at a point, and it must be because of all the chaos from the pandemic. It must be because it must be a new protocol of they don't give an F, I guess. I don't know. I guess this is important information. It's very, very important. It's crucial information to our survival, and it needs to go out to the public that they're doing these things. But I mean, usually my attackers are like, nobody's going to believe. Maybe they're getting worried. Maybe they're getting worried that all this chaos in the pandemic and people not trusting our government anymore, not trusting these agencies, is going to dislodge something in people's minds, and they're finally going to look at true information. All right, guys, I love y'all. I'll definitely see y'all in the next one. I don't know. I'm gonna try and figure out, you know, do some stuff. Get a virus. The virus protection really doesn't help. Like if my attackers wanna, and I know a lot of you guys say the same thing. If my attackers wanna shut me down, the virus protection doesn't help. But I'll figure out something. All right, guys, I love y'all. Take care. Let's just keep fighting. Let's keep moving forward. This doesn't change anything. How big and bad this is does not change how we've got to try and live our lives. We've got to survive. We got to eat and have a roof over our heads and try and make money while we still have money, I guess. We just got to keep moving forward. All right, I love you guys. God bless you, and God bless your families.